and thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I'm Antonia K. Moore, and today we're going to be talking about marketing. So, Pronobesh Banerjee, thank you so much for joining me. So let's just dive in and get stuck into marketing, because marketing is something that anybody and everybody in this day and age does, whether you even know it or not. Even if you've got a business or no business, you're at least marketing yourself, be it on Instagram or whatnot, as a influencer, or you're marketing, your business, or you're marketing yourself even for a job. So marketing is something that literally every single person on this planet, pretty much nearly, it affects. And so as a professor of marketing, I would love to hear, the insights of marketing that you have, what you've learned, training to be a marketer, or studying marketing, where you see it going, and what you think the biggest trends are now.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to the program. It's a pleasure to be a part of something which interests me a lot. Specifically, if I understand, you're dealing mostly with brands. And brand is also an area I'm very interested in, and what I see going forward. So I believe I'll be observing certain trends that's playing out in the industry of in branding specifically.
That'd be perfect.
Lots going on. Yeah, it's lots going on. Specifically, what happened is that what the trend, and it's been there all across North America and Europe, and it's being played out in markets like India too. I'm not very particular about. I'm not pretty sure about the Chinese market, but because since I'm based in India, I can tell you about what's happening going forward. I believe that's going to be true in general. What has changed dramatically is the increase in the use of smartphone and online platform and all those things. So people are mostly becoming very transactional in nature. So whenever they are buying a product, even in the US, there has been, when I was in the US, I had been to this Dollar General and Dollar Tree and all those products, which sells only for $1. People didn't realize the value of these products, but the forced recession from 2008, I believe, until like 2014, made people realize that how much money they can save even when they're going for normal grocery shopping. And that has, so on one hand, there has been some bouts of recession over a period of maybe 10, 15 years, which has educated people that we can really save money, even if it's like $100 in a visit. So it comes to around maybe like $2,000 a year. And on top of that, apart from this financial impact on how people are looking at things, one thing which has shifted dramatically is the change how people are interacting with the environment. People are mostly using the virtual media to interact. And that has led to one very critical change in the way that people are looking at things, because reviews have become very transparent. So the edge that the brand had over the ages was an asymmetry of information. People were not really able to figure out whether a brand is really good, because through communication, through packaging, through nice commercials, they are able to convince the consumers that we are a great product. But many times it has been seen, especially in the retail industry, that the same vendor supplies the brand as also the retail store. So what's happening is that with the rise of even brands from Amazon, which are in-house brands like Solima, especially in the market all across the globe, with the rise of, so let me put it this way, with the rise of online shopping, with the rise of brands promoted by these great retailers or the giant retailers, especially like Amazon and Flipkart in India, people are really realizing that they need not buy a brand for a great quality product. So they can stick to these in-store brands and they are really getting value. And this has essentially happened from two sources, critical sources. One is the rise of social media, rise of use of smartphones, and rise of Amazon's offering products which are exceptionally of high quality and is as good as that of the national. So what I see going forward is the market is going to split up into distinct categories. Previously, we had big brands, some mediocre brands, then value for money brands, and then maybe some unknown brands. Now what's happening, because people have realized that they are getting value of their money if they're going for an online transaction or buying, going for online shopping. But we as human beings, like from our days of hunter-gatherers, we love to experience things. So with this transactional nature which has come into play, although people have realized that they can save money, but the element of experience which we always like to indulge in or engage in is missing in these platforms. So what's going to happen there? They will be looking for brands which is going to give them that experience. So essentially what's happening, the rise of online retailing, what is happening is that there will be a tremendous growth of premium brands or super premium brands, which is only be on experience, only be on service, going beyond product, because same factory of Volkswagen sells a SUV for $40,000, and the same factory Porsche get manufactured and sold at a price of $80,000. So difference of $40,000 for almost the same product. Why? Because people want to experience that. So it's becoming very distinct. Previously, people used to grapple with the idea that, okay, I want to buy a brand for great quality product, but that idea is slowly getting died. People don't believe really nowadays that for buying a shirt or buying a trouser or buying something which is for a daily use, that you really need to go buy a brand, because this brand as a signaling is not really happening with this type of products anymore. Probably it's more important buying a smartphone rather than you are weathering a very high quality or brand which signals a status symbol. That's slowly getting done. But the need for really expressing yourself is not there. That's always there, especially with social media platform. People are expressing themselves. They're trying to send signals that we are different as individuals, and therein lies the huge potential of premium brands. So to summarize it, what's happening on, that's my take on this, what's going to happen going forward, the market is going to split up into two distinct categories. One is value for money brand, which is sorry about that. One is value for money brand, which is going to be purchased by, which is going to be purchased by each and everyone, and on top of it, there will be a rise of like stupendous growth of super premium brands charging a price premium. That's my take on how the branding is going to go forward, how companies are going to look at, like how companies need to focus on these two things. That's my take on the future of branding. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So basically, it's well, companies need to obviously have like a brand that resonates with their particular customers initially in order to be able to move forward in marketing. And I suppose, like, what do you see these days? I guess it's a lot to do with, community and building that know, like, and trust factor with your audience. And of course, like, social media comes into it quite a lot. But when you have small businesses, it's easy to kind of go on and maybe do a live or whatever, because it's, you're the face of the company. But then when you have like larger corporations, they obviously would struggle then with kind of having that sort of personal relationship with I suppose people on social media, because they are, there is no one face for the company. So I don't know, what would you kind of say really, could draw the line between those two things? The fact that like large corporations do lack that, kind of personable approach, where smaller companies that thrive do have that personal approach. Like what advice would you give, I guess, to larger companies in order to be able to build that community?
Yeah, so building on piggybacking on what I said and what you have observed, just to give you a concrete example, during the time of recession, Gucci launched a leather bag, and I don't remember what the brand. They gave it a totally new name, and it was only priced at $500, where any Gucci bag will be starting at approximately $2,000. So what I mean to say, even for big companies, they really need to take into that. So basically, what big companies needs to do is to split up their normal branding portfolio into value for money brands and super premium. That's the easiest way to look at it. They cannot customize it because they're looking at a larger audience. So whatever brands that they have in their portfolio, which has stood the time, and you see, look at brands like in the US, like Forever 21, then you have H&M. I shouldn't say H&M, Forever 21 or what's other, but Abercrombie and Fitch, right? So they're almost like closing down. So those brands are not able to signal the status symbol that they used to maybe 10-15 years back when there was not much of social media. So what I'm saying is that even for big corporations, whatever portfolio, whatever brands that they have in their portfolio, they need to give it a rethink. Whether they need to rebrand it so that it is in line with the pricing strategy or the quality strategy of store brands, or almost like brands which are owned by Amazon. That's one end of the spectrum. And the other end of the spectrum, they also need to keep this in mind that we have stood the test of time because we are a big corporation, we are a great brand. So now scale, like hike up, or offer a portfolio which has super premium. So they just can't have the same portfolio which used to cater to that group of individuals. Now know that I don't have to buy that product to signal status quality. So they need to split up the portfolio. One end of the spectrum should cater to people who are going for store brands or brands owned by Amazon or brands owned by some small retailers. And on the other end of the spectrum, they should offer super premium. So they need to reshuffle their portfolio. That's my take on it.
Okay, wow, very good. And like, what kind of, I suppose, really giving us a bit of a background about yourself, like what kind of got you into marketing initially?
Oh, good. That's a good. In fact, branding was my area of interest. I grew up in India and I used to read a special section from one of our business journeys called Brand Equity, and I loved it. For some odd reasons, I went into. I didn't got a chance to follow my passion. So after working in the corporate for like 4-5 years, I thought that this is not the place. I'm not getting any. I'm not getting to do things which I really love to do. So I left my job and went to the US. I did my PhD from the University of Kansas, and then I taught as assistant professors in 2 different universities in the US. One was the State University in North Carolina, and then I worked with Pennsylvania State University. So that's my brief background. And see, brands, that's what all we should be like as corporations, even as marketers. That's where it brings money on the table. So that's what got me interested, and how like the emotions attached to branding, how creative you can get with branding. So that's what got me going. But now, what I do research on how consumer make choices, mostly at the theoretical level, which helps us to understand that the biases the consumers make. And that's fascinating because to just tweak some parameters like the price or the feature or the rating of the attributes of the consumer choice, how you can influence the consumer choices. So that's more of a theoretical research that I do going forward. Do see applications of that one. So it's the creativity, it's the novelness, which has really interested me in this field of marketing. And more so, just to give you an example of how exciting theory can help marketers to really strategize. With the rise of AI and with the rise of text analytics, just to give you a very simple example, which is published research in one of the leading journals. Like previously, people used to apply for a loan. People used to look at their credit history and whether they have collateral and all those stuff. Nowadays, what happens is that if you apply for a loan, you have to write whether you are going to pay it back. And using linguistics, and if you have a certain number of words in a particular paragraph in it, the paragraph that you have written, they can predict way ahead of time whether they will be defaulters or not. So that's where we are going with text analytics. Text analytics is the technical tool that you have, and on the other hand, insights are coming from theory. As of now, it's linguistics. It can come from sociology. It can come from cognitive. So it's becoming very interesting because we didn't have these tools in place, especially with the rise of AI. We are able to use so many tools, which is able to connect theory to what the market is doing. So that's the real world of marketing. I don't know whether organizations, when the organizations are going to implement this finding, but it's really getting very exciting. A rise of very sophisticated tools and very sophisticated.
Okay, wow. And do you have you got any sort of books that the audience can go and check out?
No, I don't have anything in place. That's my long-term plan of writing a book which connects that the interesting thing that I like to have is to connect academia with the industry, because there's been a huge disconnect, even because we are in the top 4 business schools in India now. We get recruiters from BCG, McKinsey, and JP Morgan. We send out students to these corporates. But the idea is that since I work both in the corporate as also in academia, I see a huge disconnect. So there is something called industry best practices, and the industry best practices gets polished over and over again. So it's not an incremental change, but to bring a paradigm shift, what I am trying to do is I teach a special course in strategic marketing, and that deals only with research and how research can be managerially valid. Because ideally, if you go to any top business schools, mostly it's case studies and textbook and simulations mostly. Hardly there, at least I don't think any business schools in India at least have this pedagogy where they only use research articles and that FT 50 articles and connect those articles to how managers can use them. So going forward, I'm planning to write a book on that how we can use academic research to become managers and to a larger extent now to change the well-entrenched business practices we have, which I believe hasn't changed.
And so where can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is a place where I have almost all the details. Or they can type in Google, Pronobesh Banerjee. I work as an associate professor in Indian Institute of Management, Goiko, and all the details are there. So at any point of time, if you want to connect with me, LinkedIn will probably be the best place. If not, definitely they can type in my name and you get to see my profile. And
perfect. Well, listen, Pronobesh, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It was great talking with you, and hopefully some of our audience can get some really good tips from what you've offered there with marketing. It is a very intricate and complex subject, really, and I suppose a lot of people want to kind of just simplify it down to what does one need to do in order to achieve X goal. And I suppose with businesses big and small, it's always going to be different. So I guess really at the end of the day, it's always good for any company or business just to keep pushing forward and just find out where it works for them just through pure trial and error. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What you have rightly said is to simplify things. So much of chaos, so much of noise that sometimes people really get very confused. So we need to have a clear structure. That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what you hinted at, and that's what I said. I have a very simple framework, and that's exactly what I do in my classes. That you can't do too many things at the same time. You need to have a clear structure. We know that iPhone has been very successful, going from iPhone 6 to iPhone 7 to iPhone 8 and iPhone 9. We know it's peer pressure. I don't want to miss out, fear of missing out. All those things are there. But is there a real reason? Do you really get the real utility for the price that you pay? If not, why do you upgrade? It's not only peer pressure, there's something going on. So that's how great brands are doing. And there's in fact a paper which has investigated why people upgrade, especially for products of premium products like iPhone. There is a special cognitive process that comes in. Just to give you a glimpse of that, from the moment you see upgrade, people really don't consider their older version or the status quo. So they don't compare. And the moment they start comparing, what happens is that they will realize that the difference in utility that they are getting between the older older version and the upgrade cannot justify the price premium that they're doing, and they are going to stop upgrading, or a large fraction or a large percentage of the consumers will stop upgrading. So that's a very simple thing, as you rightly, that's what I'm harping on. So Apple has done a very simple thing. They have just used the word upgrade, and with the commercials, which look so good, people just can't believe that the margin getting probably will not justify the price. So these are very simple things which people sometimes do not consider while making choices. So we need to work on those things. So in fact, I'm referring an academic paper. It's not coming from research. So if people are interested, they can look for that paper why people go for upgrades. And this is just the use of the word upgrade with superfluous features sometimes sways the customers to buy.
For sure, that's actually that's a really good point. So for now, Pranesh, thank you so much, and hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast again in the future.
Thank you so much, Antina. Thank you for your time, and it was a pleasure talking. Thank you.
No problem whatsoever. Take care then, and chat soon.
You too. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.